Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where we spill tea left, right, and everywhere in between. Today's video we are covering some Trisha COVID updates, Nikita Dragon opening up about her breakdown, and Ethan Klein versus Fresh and Fit. There's no time to waste, and let's spill some tea. Since getting COVID about a week ago, Trisha Paytas has now woken up with a possible ear infection as well, but her fever has gone down. She still thinks that she caught COVID while she was at a show recently that required people to wear masks, but some people came up and asked for pictures without one. She also does say that she should have been more careful as she is the one that is pregnant. I will say here just quickly that COVID doesn't just exist at the places that require masks. It's everywhere, and you vlog your whole life, so we do know that you haven't been wearing it basically anywhere since you got pregnant. So while it could have been that show, it also could have been like anywhere. Trisha says that she feels a little silly being the only person wearing a mask while out, but she's gonna do it anyway and maybe not even go out if she can avoid it.
I always say people think I'm a crazy person if I'm like the only one wearing a mask. I'm like, okay, masker. I'm pregnant. I got to. And now I think, I don't know. I mean, I'll still wear a mask, but I'm pretty sure like you have a couple of months immunity, right? When you get the virus. I don't know. I'm hoping that, but I will still wear a mask.
Okay, well, maybe you might not be able to catch the virus for a short time after. I'm not even sure that's true, to be honest. You can still pass it around to other people. Hello?
Do I have an eye irritation now? Could you imagine?
Is there like toothpaste on her lips? Sorry, not the point, even though ew, right? Like, okay, don't edit your videos and put literally zero effort in, but like, check your face, girl, come on. Trisha says that at one point during her pregnancy, her doctor's office was getting attacks from people saying not to let Trisha have the baby and that they would be doing a disservice to humankind, basically. And that is crazy. Like, don't do that.
I'm watching Lost. I really want to start a Lost podcast. We're like binging it now, especially on my birthday.
I've talked about this a few times in the past with some deep dive topics and other individuals that overshare on the internet, and I think that Trisha really falls in that category of being one of these people that doesn't have that connection to people in their real life, so they need to run to the internet to fulfill that need. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for her, she's watching a show that she likes, and her personality type, she very much becomes her favorite character, and often does cosplay and now ASMR as those characters, which is whatever, but even just that isn't enough for her. To watch something with her husband and talk about it, it just isn't enough. She like needs to voice her opinion or reach out to a larger audience. As much as she irritates me and I find her barely tolerable, I do find it fascinating that her real life, it just isn't enough for her, it seems. Maybe it could just be some deep-seated narcissism, as even when she just films these update videos or these basically nothing videos, she's clearly looking at herself the entire time and just enjoying the sound of her own voice. Like, these videos are not for us, you know? Trisha also reveals that she has finally started getting her list together for what she's going to need for the baby, like other than clothing and toys.
I'm compiling my list now of everything we need, because I just like all the fun little cute toys and swings and stuff, but
hopefully she has a good support system with some experience in babies, because they certainly need a lot more than just outfits and cute things for the nursery. She says that she's getting a lot of people who are still accusing her of faking the pregnancy, and that they often comment on her videos that she is lying about it all. And to be honest, I don't think she is. I mean, that would be terrible, and she kind of is terrible, but faking the pregnancy, I don't feel that at all. Plus, I would way rather give the benefit of the doubt on that and be proven wrong than to say something like that and something bad happen or whatever, you know? I think maybe a lot of us should think about that, like maybe just let that be her karma, should that be the case, but I don't think it is. But anyway, continuing our YouTuber update for you guys, let's talk about Miss Nikita Dragon. We haven't covered her in a while. I actually think that the last time we spoke about her was after the psychiatric hospital stay and the Instagram story thing. But this week, Nikita is hitting our headlines with a recent YouTube video called What Happened.
These past couple of months have been some of the hardest months I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Minute 1, Nikita cries and says that she started her YouTube channel because she didn't have anybody else to really talk to, and what she's going to cover in this video is something that she's never talked about before. Nikita shares with us that she is in fact bipolar. She says that she thought that transitioning would clear away anything else and she could just live her life happily, but she was wrong, and about 6 months ago is when she had her first full manic episode. In an attempt to reconnect with herself, she fled way back to her hometown in Virginia, hoping that it would help clear everything away, but what actually happened was that she wound up unlocking some past trauma.
I always love going back home to Virginia because my family and I are so close, and I feel like anytime I start losing myself or start doubting myself or start feeling weird, I can always rely on my family.
Nikita says that she felt herself slipping away from reality and losing touch when she made this trip back around Thanksgiving time. She visited her high school and childhood home and says that the flood of all those memories is what possibly triggered this manic episode that she experienced. Nikita talks about the night that she walked out of the house in the dress and the stripper heels and is visibly upset by the episode that she had and says that it was just not her.
Another moment I won't get into, but like an altercation happened. I ended up in a police car. I got brought to a hospital. I had to be evaluated from head to toe. I was placed under a detaining order.
She had an ankle monitor strapped to her, was medicated, and was monitored even during the shower, and Nikita says that she is glad that things worked out the way that they did.
I learned so many valuable lessons. I was surrounded by so many people who normally I don't think I would understand.
At the time of her detainment, she didn't feel these things exactly yet, though. She says that at the time of her stay there in the psych ward, she just wanted to get out of there and was still very much in denial about the whole thing.
Altogether, I was detained for about 8 days, and the things that I experienced, I'm really not going to go into detail about.
Upon Nikita's release, she immediately went home to LA and has been working on her mental health carefully since then. With bipolar disorder, the manic episodes are often met at the other side with a depressive episode, and Nikita explains that she went through that when she got home and ended up in a very dark place. While she understands her diagnosis, she is and always will be conflicted about medication, she says, as it's just something that she's been back and forth on forever. While Nikita says that everyone has the right to decide what is best for them, medication is just one of those things that for her personally that she's just funny about.
And, medication's not new to me, especially being trans. It's not something that I run away from, but I just don't want to be that girl that's just like popping all these damn pills.
Nikita thanks her fans and followers for supporting her even knowingly and says that she is reconnecting with her family and doing her best to move forward. We wish all the best for you for what you're going through, Nikita. Mental health, as she says, is very serious and is a reminder for all of us to take care of ourselves and check on your friends. And moving on, Ethan Klein and the H3 team hit our headlines again, but this time not for something that he did. I have personally been avoiding covering anything to do with the Fresh and Fit podcast because I cannot stand them, their content, or anything really about them, but I knew this day would come eventually. If you are unaware of who Fresh and Fit are, they are a pair of bros that have a podcast and basically think women are trash and stupid and men should be allowed to cheat in relationships, but women should not, and yada yada. They're just the worst and I hate them. But the H3 podcast often dogs on them, and Ethan has on many occasions invited the duo to come onto the H3 show for a debate. The Fresh and Fit boys have declined and kind of dodged the whole situation of the H3 debate and tried to invite another person to join them, and it just got all messy, and as it stands currently, it seems that they have no intentions of ever going on the H3 podcast. That, of course, does not keep the topic of the Fresh and Fit boys out of Ethan's mouth, and this week, the H3 podcast had a caller who was actually a guest on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and then later on went on a sort of date with Myron. Myron is Fit of Fresh and Fit. This caller described her time in Florida with the Fresh and Fit pair in great detail and said that going on the show was super weird and they were briefed prior to the podcast starting to not interrupt Myron ever and that they had to wait their turn to speak, and while they're at the studio, the caller said that they were somewhat pressured to drink alcohol. The caller herself is only 19, so obviously not of drinking age, but that didn't seem to be an issue for the guys. Please note, allegedly. Anyway, the caller continued to tell Ethan about a date that she ended up on with Myron. Apparently, Myron had eyes for this girl from the moment that she was on the show. The girl's friend was closer with the other host, Fresh, so at some point, the girls get separated, with her friend going to the club with Fresh and the caller ending up back at the studio with Fit. And just to keep it brief here, the caller detailed a kind of disturbing encounter between herself and Myron, where he allegedly forced a kissy kiss on her, and then when she informed him she would in fact not sleep with him, he was like done with her basically and told her to figure out a way to get home. Classy gentleman. And to reiterate again, this is all alleged. But anyway, there was a lot of detail that the caller went into, and she even shared text messages between herself and her friend that night, as well as between herself and Myron, who tried to apparently flip the situation and make it seem like she was the one who did something wrong, of course. And the text interactions ended with Myron pulling the absolute classic, saying, "Who's this?" Love that. Anyway, once Ethan wraps up that call, he says that he doesn't want to say this, but it kind of seems like the girl was SA'd, or at the very least harassed. And to be very clear on that, we understand how serious an accusation like that is. And just to be very clear, the caller never said that she was SA'd or anything, just to be clear. And since that podcast episode wrapped up, Fresh and Fit has responded. Fresh and Fit put out a super long episode covering everything and showing their own receipts, so to say. They also had on 2 girls that were also on the podcast the same night as the caller. The girls say that this caller girl with these allegations only drank water, so the accusation of Fresh and Fit team forcing them to drink before the show was false. A lie, supposedly. But I'm just a little confused on that, because one girl says that the caller was just drinking water, and then the other one says that they specified what flavor White Claw they wanted, and she was the one looking for them. So I mean, it's very he said, she said, of course. Myron says that they never force anyone to drink, and he prefers when the girls don't drink, as he likes to have an actual conversation with them. He continues and says that if they do drink, he likes them to keep it at a minimum at least. In fairness, she's still underage and it's still illegal for her to drink, and it's probably not the best idea for you to even let her in your studio, just saying. Myron calls out Ethan Klein and the H3 podcast specifically, and it says that when you just call out serious topics like this without knowing the facts or full details, it can ruin lives. I think that at the end of it all, besides my personal dislike for the Fresh and Fit podcast and what they are all about, this story just highlights that Myron is a creepy dude who does sleazy things, and to be honest, that really wasn't much of a secret to begin with. When it comes to the story that the caller told Ethan and what he said and what she said, I'd say that we won't really ever know, but there's not much to be done there. Does that make sense? The H3 team said throughout multiple times during the podcast where they had her on the show that she was fully vetted and that it was all legit, but if she's not saying there was an assault of any kind and she's okay, this is just one of those things that's like, what are we gonna do? I mean, of course she's 19 and he's like 30 something, so why is he even pursuing her to begin with? And unfortunately, there's a lot of men out there doing the same thing, but for now, that is all that we have on the story. And that is going to be it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and head over to the Hot Tea Twitter account where you can send us any tea or deep dive topics that you are dying to hear about. And for now, here's some eye bleach for you now. Bye-bye.
If you're here for the first time, you're seeing a black and white photo of a bridge. If you're back here for the second time, you're hopefully seeing it in colour. If so, please let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see if your brain can fill in the colours, all you need to do is to stare at the circle in the centre of the picture. Whatever you do, keep looking right at the centre of that circle. Keep your phone at a constant distance, keep your eyes focused, and it's really, really, really important that you keep looking at that circle when we return to the start of the video. Don't be distracted. If your eyes move, the colour will be lost. Now, the psychedelic colours you're seeing at the moment are designed to fatigue some of the receptors in the retina at the back of your eye. When I remove them, only the ones needed to colour the picture should be stimulated. Now, I've only made this today and I haven't been able to test it at all again, so please let me know if it works. I'm relying on you again. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Here we go then. Let's loop back to the start. But remember, don't take your eyes off that circle for a second. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.